Hey there, I am making creamy tomato soup today. We are having tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches for lunch. So I thought I would show you how I make tomato soup out of home canned tomatoes. So the first thing you want to do is get just a quart of home canned tomatoes, and it can be any style of tomato. You can use like a stewed tomato if you have tomatoes with onions and celery in there, or peppers. The peppers are going to change the flavor a little bit. I don't usually add peppers, but it won't hurt anything. I always add onions and celery. What I like to do is I like to do a jar of tomatoes where I have taken the seeds out. I don't always can my tomatoes to where I've taken the seeds out. Sometimes I just do whole tomatoes. And so the skins are gone, but the seeds are all in there. If you want to make your soup with the seeds in it, it doesn't hurt anything, but it's just not as appealing. And so I like to do it. I find a jar where I have taken all the seeds and the skins out, and I use that. So you need to simply add your quart of tomatoes, to your pan without splashing it all over. And then you are going to add a half a cup of chopped onion, and I've already chopped my onions up. And you're going to add that in there. And then you're going to add a half a cup of chopped celery. Now I pulled celery out of my fridge and it was all slimy and gross. And so what I did is I went ahead and pulled out my freeze-dried celery. This is the Thrive celery. But if you have regular celery, that, obviously that works fine. I'm just substituting this because that's what I have today. So there's a plug for Thrive because it's pretty convenient. But if you have regular celery, you just need a half a cup of that. And then you're going to do about a tablespoon of sweetener. Now I often use brown sugar. Today I'm going to use honey just because this is what I have close at hand. And that just kind of mellows out those tomatoes. Sometimes they get a little acidic flavor to them. And so we always like to add just a little bit of sweetener to it. It's not required, it's optional. You can always leave that out. Then I'm going to put, oh, I forgot my salt and pepper. I don't even measure this. But let me see, do I have it written down here? Yeah, it's probably about a teaspoon of salt, but it's kind of to taste, so whatever you like. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to mix that up because my celery is floating. There we go. Now I'm going to turn that on and I'm going to simmer that. I'm going to bring that to a low boil, and then I'm going to lower the heat a little bit and just simmer it for about 10 minutes. Let me look at my list here. Yeah, it's about 10 minutes. What you want to do is you want to cook it until that celery and the onions are soft, because what you're going to do then is you're going to puree it so that it's all mixed together. So you don't want chunks of onion in there. So just simmer it about 10 minutes or so till the celery and the onions start getting soft. And in the meantime, you're going to make a white sauce. So let me move this over to this other burner. And I will make my white sauce for you here. So if you make your white sauce a different way, you can do it however you like. You just want to have like a creaminess to put in your tomato soup to make it a creamy tomato. So I do 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to heat that up until it's melting and bubbly. So that's going to take just a minute here. Okay, so my butter is now all bubbly, and so all I'm going to do is sprinkle in 2 tablespoons of flour, and you just want to sprinkle it over the top of that. I add some salt and pepper to taste, or I add pepper to this. I didn't add pepper to the soup. I would guess about a half a teaspoon of salt, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper is what I use. And then you're just going to use a little whisk and stir that up. And see if I can get you to see that. It's just going to make it all nice and bubbly. And then last step is you're going to add in 2 cups of milk. And I pour that in nice and slowly. And again, you're going to use a whisk to mix it up as you go. You're going to bring that to a simmer. And as it heats up, it's going to start getting thick for you. This is a great substitute if you ever use like those cream of mushroom soups or those cream of chicken soups, any of those cream of soups, make a white sauce and then add mushrooms to it. Or if you want cream of celery, just add some celery to it. It's so much healthier for you than the junk that's in the cream of soup. I admit the cream of soup cans are pretty convenient, but this is not hard to make either. So my soup is simmering over here, and then I'm making my white sauce here. This is the whisk that I use. It's one of those little drink whisks. I like it because it's nice and flat on the bottom of my pan, but you can use a regular whisk, whatever works. So I'm gonna wait here, and as soon as this comes to a simmer, it'll start thickening up, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so my white sauce started to simmer. And so you really need to stand here and stir it the whole time because it'll tend to stick on you. But it's beginning to get nice and thick. Let me see if I can get it. Let me grab my pot holder. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just kind of getting thick. I like to let it boil once it comes to a boil, and it means a low boil. It doesn't have to be, you know, splattering all over. I like to let it boil for about a minute or two. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my timer here, 2 minutes. My soup is also simmering. In fact, I better turn that down a little bit. So I give that a stir every once in a while, but it's not at 10 minutes yet. So I'm gonna wait a few minutes here, and then I'll show you what you do next. Okay, so everything is cooked and ready to go. Whoops, let me turn this down a little bit. I put my white sauces over here, and it's all nice and thick. I mean, it's not super thick. It's like soupy thick. Let me show you if I can show you a picture. Okay, so that's what my white sauce looks like. If you like it a little bit thicker, you can just add a little bit more flour, or if you'd like, but that works for me. Then my soup, or my tomato soup, is all simmered, and everything is simmered well. And what I need to do now is I need to puree it. So this is the part that I want you to be really, really careful. You can do this in a blender if you'd like. Just take, I would probably do half of it, blend it, and then do the other half and blend it up. You're just gonna puree everything up. I'm gonna use my stick blender so that I can do it right in the pot. But if you don't have one of these, a blender works great. But like I said, be really, really careful because this was boiling just a minute ago. So it's very, very hot, and if it splatters on you, it's gonna burn you. One thing that I do is once I'm done cooking it, I turn it off and I let it rest for just long enough that the bubbles stop bubbling so the boil goes away. I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. Just long enough to let those bubbles stop bubbling, and it just makes it so you won't burn yourself. And then I tip my pan, just because it makes the soup go in the corner and it's a little bit deeper. I want to make sure that this isn't going to splatter. And you're just going to blend it. Okay. So now that it is all blended, actually there's still some more chunks. Let me do it a little bit more. My soup is all blended up. Now it's not going to be as smooth as, like, you know, a commercial Campbell's soup, but you can see it's all nice and blended. The longer you blend, the less chunky it's going to be. So it's just kind of personal preference. If you want it more, then just keep blending it. So the final step, which makes it super yummy, you could actually just eat it like this. It's a tomato soup, but we like creamy tomato soup. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add this white sauce to my soup. And I added about half of it. Let me stir it up and see. Oh, yum. Now I'm going to add it all in there. This is a step where you can add more or less of the white sauce, just depends on how creamy you like it. And then I am going to just mix this up just a little bit. And voila, you have creamy tomato soup. Let me get a bowl here and I can show you. Creamy tomato soup. It is very good. It is very yummy. I'm going to have to work out the kinks in how to video this so that you guys can see better. But I hope that was helpful, and I'm hungry. I'm going to go eat my lunch. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. We'll talk to you later.